Hello and welcome to another edition of your favourite podcast, Insane in the Membrane, with me, Rich Wilson. Hello. I hope you're well. Hope you're doing good. January was long, wasn't it? That was long, but we're through it now. We're out the other side. We're getting into it now. It'll soon be spring, which is always lovely. Like, I think spring's my favourite time of year. I've said that on here before. I can't wait for it. You know, January just seemed, I think, because it's a bit foggy and cold, and they grit the road so it's dirty. You know, everything's just a bit grubby in it. And you know, and I had my birthday in January, so I'm 53 now, and that's depressing. And I had to buy slippers. Oh God, we talk about that in the episode. I don't think there's no such thing as a cool slipper, and honestly, it's disgraceful that they even exist, but. We need him for survival. You'll hear about why in the episode. And thank you for continuing to listen to us. We are now in our 6th year. Thank you to everyone for supporting us. I'd like to give a shout out to producer Paul for keeping on doing what he's doing. He's a wonderful.
Thank you very much.
There he is. Yeah. He's there. I make it sound like he's somewhere else, but he's sitting right next to me as we're in producer Paul's studio. I've got gigs and things like that. Do check out the website, Rich Wilson. Oh, I forget to look at the camera. I always forget the camera's on. Do check out the website, richwilsoncomedian.com. All my gig lists are up there where I'm going to be, all my shows. The Radio Bath links for Mixcloud if you don't get to listen to the show at 12 noon on a Saturday. They're all on there. The links to that. Links to this podcast are up on there. And yeah, just all things Rich Wilson, if you're that way inclined. There's a group of people called Even Flow. It's on Instagram, Facebook, I think like that, like an online show. And they do cars and like it's Irish. And these lunatics that hoon around the lanes in all these different cars and various tractors and whatever else. And one of them reminds me of me. It's just one of the guys. I'll have to find out his name. Handsome man, very handsome man. Great beard. He's a great beard. But yeah, Even Flow. I'm very much enjoying those guys online. Everything else is fine. Little Bodie's doing great. Keanu and Bailey, they're off doing their thing. Kate McGann, the beautiful Kate McGann, she's up and running, doing stuff. She's getting back in the game now that Bodie's getting a bit older. So everything's fine. I hope you're well. I know I say that all the time, and I say that all the time, but I genuinely mean it. Give us a follow on Instagram. I am Rich Wilson on Instagram. We've got the Facebook page as well. Insane in the Membrane is on there too, and all our other podcasts, Law and Disordered. But please don't panic. And we've got what was the other one? Never mind the age gap. Blimey, the wife will hate me for that, for forgetting that one. But check us out. We're working hard so you can have some entertainment. Anyway, waffling on. This week, I'm joined by the brilliant Joe Wells, who I've gigged with many, many times. I didn't realise that we had so much in common, though, and that you'll find out that in the podcast episode. So, coming up in a minute is Joe Wells. Welcome to Insane in the Membrane with me, Rich Wilson, and this week I'm joined by brilliant comedian Joe Wells. Here we are.
Hello.
Here we are, Joe. So we were just talking about a baby, mate.
Yeah, my baby.
Your baby. How old is your baby?
She is almost 10 weeks.
Wow, fresh.
So, yeah. I don't know if, I don't know how much you use the visuals for this, but I look like shit. So I've gone back to properly, like, you know, when you're like just real like student lifestyle. I'm up till late at night, and I've got it's such very cliche. I'm eating the pot noodle.
I saw.
I've gone back to that completely. Not showering I went 3 days without showering.
Oh, mate, what you have to do is just tell yourself that it's good for your skin. Those natural oils getting replenished.
Well, I think I was an over showerer and certainly an over hair washer. I've been weaning myself off of washing my hair every day, which isn't good. And I think this is the shock that I needed.
I think people, because I've just had one as well. So I say I've just had one. Mine's 1 now, and people don't realise that when you decide to have a kid, you've given over your whole existence to this other human being. Your now main priority is keeping that little one safe, and that is at the detriment to your own health.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And they don't care about staying
they
alive. They
don't
will
give a
quite
shit.
happily sort of like you hold her and she just tries to smother herself. I don't know if anyone else does this, but she just turns her face into me and it's just like pushing her face
Yeah,
like she's yeah.
it's yeah, and I know it's just, I mean, I was reading something this morning. My little one he's just so he's just starting. He's not quite walking, but he's nearly there.
So
And
how old is he?
so he's one. Yeah,
Okay.
nearly. Yes, what is he? 13 months now. So he's talking, but he makes no sense. He knows what he's
Right.
saying, and he's jib jab jib jab jib jab, and you go yeah, and then he goes look, and I go, you don't even know what you're pointing at. You're just, he goes, look, and then he goes, look, and he goes, look, and you just forever, and then you really go, hang on a minute, it's 3 p.m. again. Where did the day go? Where you've just
Mm.
been making sure he doesn't stick his fingers in anything, make sure all sharp things are out of the way. He just barrels around the place a million miles an hour, and then like when you see films and there's a baby up on a crane and you go, well, that wouldn't happen. How would a baby get up there? That is how you turn around and goes, he's on the roof. How is he on the fucking roof? And you've got all
It
that
is
to look forward
mad
to, Joe.
how happy you are with them though. That's the thing where like they're
Yeah,
ruining
true.
your life, but also making you completely happy. It's like you talk about them like you've joined a cult. Do you know what I mean? Like when people
Yes,
were
yeah,
like
yeah,
have
yeah.
sold all their possessions and they're moving in somewhere else, and but they're like, but I'm happy because I'm near the leader. That's how I feel about my own
Ah,
child.
yeah, I'm one of the special ones. I'm in the
Yeah,
group, a very special group. Are you? I've found it's really. I mean, I've already. The thing is, I already did it once. I did it twice. And they're
mm.
grown. They're grown men now. They're in their 30s. Well, one of
You've
them's in his
escaped and
30s.
you've gone back in.
Yeah, I went back in. My brain went, oh yeah, that's what's been missing. You miss being a dad, and now I'm like, no. You could have just rode that feeling out. Just no, and
Just done some
it's yeah,
voluntary work in a school or
yeah,
something.
yeah, yeah. And it's a strange one doing it again. I am enjoying it, as you've just said. It's a weird enjoyment, and things like that I used to give a fuck about, like my records.
Mm.
I'll watch him skim them across the front room and go, oh, do you know what? It doesn't fucking matter. What does it
Does it?
matter?
Because that's the thing. I'm worried about. I am very protective over the records too,
mm.
and I've heard that they try and touch them. Does that all
He,
go then? Am I not going to care?
you just kind of get to a point. And you go, I'm not going to sell them on, am I? I'm not like John Peel. I'm not going to. No one's going to buy this collection. Oh my god! Can you believe that this person had this collection of vintage vinyl? It's like, do you know what? As long as it plays.
That's how I think about it. I genuinely think people do think that when I die. I imagine people going through my record collection and being like, wow, he had so much depth that we didn't realize.
You're gonna take it into some kind of museum. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That goes, Joe. That goes. You're just gonna go, all right.
I'm also obsessed with, is yours on Discogs?
I've had to come away from that because it was costing a
Okay.
fortune. I was
Yeah, oh yeah, no,
yeah.
I don't buy from Discogs
Oh, you're just
because
selling
so I
stuff.
have the want list. No, I'm just logging it all. It's even sadder than that. But I watch it like people that are really into like crypto and they're like, I got to see where my Dogecoin is or whatever. I'm like
Yeah.
that about I've got Doechie's debut album that
Oh
I
yeah,
was
yeah,
ahead of
yeah.
the curve on her, and that went up to like it was worth almost 100 quid, and I paid 30 quid for it. And I've been watching
Mate.
that like it goes up and down. It's in a low at the moment. I will never sell
Oh
it, but
no.
I've been watching that like crypto coin.
Oh, I didn't know you could do that. That's gonna change it. All right. Okay.
Oh
Oh
yeah, no, you can
shit.
become quite obsessive about it. Yeah.
But it's another way of getting a bit of dopamine, isn't it? It's another something else to check to get
Yeah.
that little hit.
This thing I will never sell is worth an extra £10.
Although I've got this massive collection of model cars, and I've just sold a Hot Wheels Ghostbusters car. I
Right.
think I paid 40 quid for it. Just sold it for £175.
Wow.
Yeah, so I was well chuffed for that. But that went straight on the rent, so it didn't last long. All of these things are going to have to put up out of the way. if you want them to be treasured forever.
Yeah. Do you know what? It was a real moment of oh, I'm no longer young. When what do you want for Christmas? I want a really sturdy shelf for the lounge. That was on my Christmas list.
You get things, yeah, that you wouldn't necessarily buy yourself. Well, this happened the other day. So we've got this place now where we live, wooden stairs, painted wooden stairs, and I was coming down the stairs in my socks, and I had a handful of stuff, and I fell down the stairs, and I really fucked myself up, like properly, like tobogganed down, like proper luge
Oh,
to the bottom, and then. And then I've had to go and look for slippers. I've never wanted slippers. I can't abide slippers. I've had this talk with producer Paul many times. He's got like posh Ugg ones, and they just slippers just look like they smell when they're in the shop, mate. Do you know what I mean? So that's where I'm
you
at.
Can't have the quirky novelty ones if they're to get you down the stairs, can you? You've got to have proper old man slippers.
Proper old man with grip. They've got to have grip.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's where I'm at. So that's going to be, if I don't get them myself, they're going to end up being bought for me for my birthday, which is the end of the month. And I can't, Joe.
I'm just imagining you opening them and crying. You know the end is near.
Oh, he's so pleased. He loves them.
The only other option is a stair lift.
Oh, God. Yeah, there's a stair lift option.
Yeah. Or a slinky on each foot. That'll get you down the stairs.
Honestly, I just went, and then the day after, I was backing into a charity shop and I slipped because I had the buggy, and I slipped on the little concrete ramp and went backwards in through the doors, and all the people that work in there had to come and help me up.
It is horrible, that, isn't it? Where particularly falling down the stairs, because I think that's something which happens when you're a child.
Yeah,
and just that moment of panic, like, where you know you're going, but you don't know how bad it's going to be. So, yeah, it's horrible.
It's just it happened so fast, and I went down with such a wallop that it really fucked up. It didn't hit my spine; it was on the side. It's all the muscles are fucked, and I just was like, "Is this really? Come on, man! Just give me you just blame the universe."
Yeah,
oh, just give me a break, man.
If you're drunk, it's better, isn't it? That's the key to falling down the stairs.
Yes.
So just be drunk at all times as a new father, and then you'll be fine.
I think there's an element of, yeah, fuck it. I'm just gonna have a pint. I'm just gonna have a glass of wine. Just take the edge off. I think. But how are you finding it with? Because I've watched you many times on stage. And I know you talk about you're absolutely.
That wasn't a compliment, was it? But I took it as a compliment.
No, it was. Yeah. It was. I was getting to it. You're absolutely brilliant. And
Thank you.
But I've seen you talking about being autistic and things like that. How is that? How is that like? What's it like being a dad and being autistic? And like, do you know what I mean? How are you finding it?
Yeah, the noise is draining. And my wife struggles with some noise things as well, so that is hard because she doesn't care about reasonable adjustments. She's just making as much noise as possible. I think it's the tiredness has made me like all the things that we live somewhere that's quite nice where we know like our neighbours and just bump into some bits of small talk. It's made me realise how much of that is manual, but I was doing it manually enough that it could become second nature. I'm like, I can work out how long to talk to this person for, ask them a question, they ask me a question, all those things that are, I've got sort of scripts that I can sort of dip into in my head and know the kind of questions that I would need to ask and make that work. But all of that has sort of gone. So I was talking to a neighbour for I think too long, and their child was wanting to go indoors.
Yeah.
And I feel like I did before the baby, I would have been like, oh no, this small talk I can wrap up now. But it went on for a bit too long. I was like, no, we're having a deep chat.
I know.
So I think all those sort of little things are going, which the way I'm trying to frame it is that is a very liberating thing because I'm being a truer version of myself and not worrying about those social things. But it is useful to be able to, if you bump into someone, just be able to do the sort of da 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 thing that people do,
Yeah.
and make small talk.
I bumped into someone yesterday. We're in Brighton, and Kate had gone off to get her tattoo finished, and I had the little one. I was just wandering up, and I bumped into someone that I've not seen in a couple of years. We gigged together, and they've been on their own for a bit in the house, I think, and they were just chat, and after a while, I was like, hey, am I keeping this person, or are they keeping me? I don't know what we're.
Oh, you're on the other end of it.
We were both kind of. I don't know how to. I was like, I'm gonna have to, and he's like, yeah, and then another thing, and then but then I'd say something, and I'm like, are we keeping each other from getting on? What's happening here? So yeah, I think sometimes you have to. It's difficult, isn't it? to know when to.
I think also we're used to comics who none of us are properly neurotypical, but most people are. And when you have people, as I imagine it will be, when I'm at school gates and stuff like that, as she gets older, I think comics are used to communicating in a certain way. And when you talk to properly normal people, yeah, it's a bit of a shock to the system.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you find it, maybe it's helping then as a distraction from all of that sort of analysis as you're going through your day, like, oh, this is how I should react in this situation. Like your brain, you're telling yourself, like, oh, this is that person. Oh, we talk about this usually. I should talk about that and go through that script. Whereas this is kind of because you're like, oh shit, yeah, how you doing? Yeah, good, yeah, baby's fine, and you're distracted from that usual.
Certainly, the big change. I don't know if you've had this. I don't care about anything other than the baby, which is quite liberating. But I used to, worry about the news and the, my career certainly, and all these sorts of other things. And that is quite liberating. Not caring. I need to focus a bit on work and make sure that I get work done. I have moments of panic where I go, oh God, I don't care about work anymore, so I've got to sort of focus on it. It is quite liberating not caring about things.
It's I think, yeah. Whereas I used to be, with gigs, I'd be like, what will I get from that gig? Is it a beneficial gig or is it just a gig?
That's the thing. It's not caring about the work. It's not caring about all the bullshit around it. Where I think I would be like, oh, is why aren't I getting seen by that TV show, or why are they not coming to that? And that's such a toxic way of doing comedy. You should, and I think I'm generally good at. I'm not one of those people that lets that eat them up. You see people be driven mad by that, but we all have it a bit where you see someone on one of the big TV shows and you go, well, I did a gig with them last week and I was better than them, so why don't I? Which is an awful way to think. And I think I don't care about that anymore, which is very liberating.
Well, I think we all go, as you said, we all go through that phase at some point, and it comes and goes, depending on how much sleep you've had, if you've eaten, do you know what I mean? Or if you're doing all right. It's a funny one, and like I've said this before, what changed it for me is that looking at these people, I'm like, they're not doing that instead of you. Like they're doing, that's their path. Like if they weren't doing it, it doesn't mean you're going to be doing it. That's just that's just where they've gone. That's where they've had the chances, or someone's seen them, or whatever. And that kind of loosened me up. I went, oh yeah, it's the world isn't against me. It's just that's the path that they ended up going down. I'm going down this one. So that, and I kind of went, well, and I know I do all right at gigs because people still book me. So it's not that I'm shit. It's just different, and it kind of loosened it up. And I felt different about it.
Yeah, and I think my favourite comics aren't necessarily the most successful. I think actually the people probably my favourite comic on the circuit is Harriet Dyer. I think she's so brilliant.
She's great. Yeah,
her shows are so great. And now she's starting to get a bit of recognition. I think she's on the new series of Live at the Apollo and things like that. But for a long time, she didn't have in amongst comics, she was loved.
Yeah,
but wasn't someone that was that had a quick rise to fame on TV. And now that's starting to come. But I would watch her comedy and be like, well, that's what I want to do. I want to do really, really good comedy. I think if you're jealous of people in that way, if you go, oh, I wish I could do really, really good comedy, that is more productive, because then that makes you it's better to want to do good comedy than to be on whatever TV show.
Absolutely, yeah. There's loads of people that I
Marcus
admire.
Birdman's another one who I admire, and I
Birdman.
I just think he does such interesting stuff, and it's properly funny. You know, like we took our friends to see his show in Edinburgh, and they're lovely, but not like comedy people. They
Yeah.
don't really know comedy, but they absolutely loved it, and I loved it as well as someone that has seen loads and loads of comedy, and there's such a skill to that, isn't there? Playing both ends of it.
I think that just goes to show what a great comic someone like Marcus Birdman is. When other comics will take the time and go, yeah, I'll go and see that show. I'll go and sit and watch that. Because we work together all the time with each other, don't we? And there's very few people you'd go, oh, I'm going to go on the time that I've got where I'm not performing myself or I'm not a gig. I'm going to go and see that person. I did that with Ben Pope. I saw Ben Pope in Brighton doing a compilation, and I'm like, I have to go and see him again. And then saw when his solo show was, and then went and saw it. And like Birdman as well, that's happened. And so when someone comes along and you go, fuck, I wish I was like that. I wish I could do comedy like that. It fires you up. Yeah. I see exactly what you mean.
I think there's also some people where I go, I will never be able to come up with that, and that's something that's quite special when you can. John Kearns is like that. Well, I will never come up with stuff that John Kearns comes up with. Sam Campbell. Yeah, and I can just sit back and be like, well, I don't need to worry because they're just operating on a different plane to me. I'll never. Yeah. They're playing a different game, you know.
There's that. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. There's a new guy called Bemmy who I was with a couple of times. Just his energy alone, I'm like, fuck, I will never have that energy.
Is that from having a child?
Yeah.
I would never recoup that energy.
Yeah. I'm 52, it's been and gone. He's just got this, he's just the way he got, and I'm listening, he was doing a bit about white people, and he said, look, I'm all for, diversity and this, that, and the other. He goes, but the time when we really need old straight white people, men especially, is flying planes. Because I don't give a shit about anyone else. I just want a straight old white.
He's a black comic, isn't he?
Yeah. He's a black comic. Sorry, I should have said that.
That context makes quite a bit of difference.
I should have said that at the beginning. Yeah. And he just goes on one, and I'm like, it was one of the best bits of comedy I've ever seen, and because he just handles a really tricky subject in such a loose way that you don't even realise it's quite a heavy subject, what he's talking about. And it was brilliant. And so people like him, like you said, John Kearns, Ben Pope, Harriet Dyer as well, like you said, there's a level that they're working on that you go, fuck, I don't even know
I think you start to watch them as a fan rather than as a comic. Like I think a lot of even comics that I think are really, really good, I can watch them and go, I'm watching them as a comic. I'm going, oh, I could have thought of that, you know?
Yeah.
Like I always feel like another person who I'm a huge admirer is Mark Steele, just because of how prolific he is. Whereas I think Mark can write each one of his shows that he seems to in a week he seems to write a show that's as good as what I write in a year. But each individual bit, I think, oh, I could write something like that. But he just churns them out and is so natural to him. Yeah. Whereas there's other comics who I just go, I couldn't. I'm not. I'm playing a different game to that. I'm not. I don't write things like that. And
I think there's that as well. There's that comparison of so many people talk about how they write and their process, and they go, you do this, and you should do it this way, you should do it that way. And I used to worry about that. I'm like, I don't sit and write. Like, I don't just spend a day and go, right, I'm going to write today. It sort of comes in waves, and it'll be in the car when I'm driving somewhere. I'll go, shit, that's a good bit. Or I was talking to Kate last night, and I went off on this tangent, and she just went, all of that, write it down. So it just comes in a different way, but you're still writing. It's just written in a different way, and I think whatever your process is your process, and you shouldn't worry about how someone else does it.
It's a very sort of Western thing, isn't the way we sort of fetishize written stuff. Yeah. Whereas there's other cultures where it's all about spoken word and storytelling. But I guess it's my theory would be something to do with the church, isn't it? And people being able to read in the church. that we sort of culturally think, well, if you're writing stuff down, that's proper writing, and stories you come up with, that's not proper writing. But
yeah,
some of the I'd call, one of my favorite, I would say, writers would be Benjamin Zephaniah, but he didn't write a lot of his stuff down till it was on TV.
Oh, really? Oh, that's interesting.
There was a TV thing about him that said he was one of the most something like, one of the most important up and coming black writers, and then he watched that and realized, oh, I can't read and write. I think there was his first book or two, I have to remember, his girlfriend at the time wrote down for him, and then he went to night school.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, certainly, there's lots of people like that where their process isn't sit down with a laptop or pen and paper.
It's funny as well, there's comedians that are sort of known, that people go, oh, he's just making it up as he goes along, and then you find out, well, no, there's a framework to it, like improv, there's a framework, and they are kind of going off on tangents here and there, but a lot of it is sort of scripted, it's written that way. But then when you see someone that actually does go off on tangents and does do that all the time, and there's not a lot of traditional sort of structure, they're kind of like, they haven't got any material. But you're going, but look what they're doing for an hour. They're actually doing it. Whereas someone who sort of portrays a person making it up is seen as like, oh my God, it's like they're a genius. But the actual person actually just making it up on the spot, it's kind of frowned upon. Weirdly, I've noticed a couple of times. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I think I wonder whether I've got a real thing about sort of like snobbiness in comedy, where I think there's an assumption that if things are sort of mainstream, they're less good.
Yeah.
And I think that that sort of I guess sort of comparing type stuff where people can sort of, I think there's like a real skill to that, and it's really exciting. But I think there are some people who would go, but they weren't trained by a French clown, so it can't be any good,
The amount of times that comes up in conversation, someone makes a comment about a French clown. I've seen the results of some of that. I'm like, no, you're just a fucking wanker. I wouldn't want you to talk to me like that.
I think there's a good thing for that. I like all comedy, but it's that.
Yeah.
But yeah, certainly I've got real time for stuff that's sort of mainstream and in clubs. Just I think to me, I think it's more like radical as well. Where I think people, my sort of hot take about all art really is that we sort of assume that if things are mainstream, they're less radical. But actually, it's much more radical to have something that's really mainstream, and that people can do in clubs. And I think that someone like Jordan Gray is very mainstream, but actually what she's doing is way more radical than I think some people would see some play above in a small sort of theatre that was very sort of hard hitting as a more radical exploration of the stuff that Jordan talks about.
Yeah.
Whereas I think she's much more radical because she's doing it on the weekend to people. I've seen her in clubs, and you go, there's probably people in this audience who've never met a trans woman before. She's doing this really, really mainstream stuff. And that's so, to me, I think that's very radical. And what's quite radical about comedy is that you can get people from different backgrounds, really different sort of political ideas to the mainstream, and then you can put them on at the Comedy Store or on at the Comedian or whatever, where things are proper mainstream.
It's funny as well, having to work clean, I've found, which is what I've got to start doing because I'm doing some cruise ships, and I've got to clean my act up a little bit, and it's so hard. It's so because it's not just like not swearing but it's topics as well. It's what you're talking about as well as subject matter, and I find you've just been talking about there, but mainstream, it's really hard to be clean, and so I really admire people like Nate Bargatze, who when you watch his stuff is brilliant, but he doesn't swear.
I don't know him.
He's an American guy, and he's brilliant, and his stuff's completely clean, doesn't swear, won't even swear in interviews. Doesn't swear on podcasts. Doesn't swear. Doesn't make any sort of sexual references of any, not smutty stuff. It's admirable. I just think that's far more difficult than me going out, shit, fuck, willies, whatever. This is my new show.
Yeah, but I love swearing, but yeah, I think it's one of my dad once said something which I think is like annoyingly true about Mark Thomas, that he said he's brilliant, but if he swore less, then his TV show would be on earlier and more people would watch it. And that might be, I mean, I don't know how TV commissioning works, but maybe that those are just the late slots anyway. But yeah, I do wonder with you do reach a wider audience if you can be cleaner.
I think so. Let's get back to the parenting.
Yes.
Did you get any when you first found out that you were going to be a dad? Was there any advice from anybody? Did you get any advice? Because I've said this before. One piece of advice I got was by this biker dude called Nick that I used to know, and so everyone was in the kitchen, they're all fussing over the mum, Lisa. And then he came into the lounge and said to me, he goes, just so you know, Rich, he goes, it's just from now on in, it's not about you, nothing about you. It's going to be all about the mum. It's going to be all about the baby. Just so you know, and all you've got to do is just be there and be a good dad. That's it. But you're not going to get praise. They're not going to be marching bands for you, and just so you know. And he was right. And I don't know if there was any advice you were given where at the time it didn't really make it. Not that it didn't make sense. It was kind of oh, okay. And once I got into it, I went, oh, I see what he means. Yeah.
I think I had some good chats with Bobby Mayer before baby came, and he sort of, I remember his advice was sort of like just have all the support around that you can have.
Yes.
Because I don't think anyone prepared me for how hard it was. Certainly like the first couple of months of just not sleeping and I sort of thought it'd be fine. Well, there's two of us and I've got a job where I can take quite a bit of time off and my wife's mum's very helpful. But I don't know how, like sort of single mothers, I don't know how they don't just die.
Oh, God,
yeah.
I know.
There's two of us and help from my wife's family, and it's still not enough. It's still really difficult.
Yeah.
So I think that was the thing that to draw on the help and the support that you have as much as possible. I think that I'm you want to be like, well, I am a grown up, I can handle things myself, but actually to swallow your pride on that and be like, can you help me, my wife's mum?
Because it was that, it was like, well, look, you do that, you I'll have a nap now, you have a nap in a minute, but you're not, it's not proper sleep. And then
no, I haven't had proper sleep in a long time.
No,
I wake up and panic about where the baby is. Well, because I'll sleep with a pillow in my. That's what's comfy to me, is to sleep with a pillow holding, and I keep waking up thinking that I'm holding the baby on the sofa, and then panicking, and I've actually put her down. No proper sleep.
No.
And I don't think I could if I think it's mid-April, I've got my first gig staying away. And I'm sort of fantasizing about that travel lodge of just, I'll leave the gig as soon as I've been on and just sleep the whole night. But I don't think I'm going to get a good night's sleep because I think I will wake up tonight and wonder where the baby is.
You'll feel guilty as well. That's the other thing. Although what happened at New Year's Eve, I was away, and Kate had said to me, she says, look, just stay. No point driving back. Just do the gig, and then they've given you a hotel. Take the hotel, have a night, have a sleep. Do it. Oh yeah, do you know what? I will. And I went. There's a pub near Comedia, and I went and stood in there, and the music was brilliant. I had a few drinks, and I wasn't doing it. I just sort of stood there, and I was on my phone. I was messaging everybody, but then so I didn't get to bed until sort of 2:30, 3, and then I was up again in the morning to come back. And then Kate was really annoyed that I'd squandered the room. I should have just gone back to the room when the gig finished. She was so fucking annoyed.
I'm annoyed on her behalf. Yeah, you gotta take that sleep where you can. I'm
Yeah.
so jealous of you having a night in a proper bed.
Big old bed on my own, and she was so annoyed. So annoyed. But it was New Year's Eve. She was just, I don't give a fuck. It's New Year's Eve every year. Yeah. So grab those moments when you can. What I do now is when he's, because I'm there in the day. So when he has a nap, I have a nap. I lay down with him. And that's glorious. It's amazing. I'm going to be really sad when he starts missing out certain naps. So
Does he have a proper nap schedule then? Because ours is just chaos at the moment. She just there's no like, and everyone, we're in like an NCT group, and everyone seems to be like, their babies are sleeping for set periods, and ours is just does what she wants. And sometimes it'll be like 4 a.m, and she's like, I think she has like a brilliant like natural comic timing. That's what I think it is, because it'll be 4 a.m. I'm so tired, and she's like wide awake and smiling at me as though to be like, "Hey, I love you. Let's play. Let's this is awake time." And there's no, she doesn't have nap times.
You can't. There will be. What happens is he wakes up early, sort of 6, between 5 and 7, and he wakes up, and then because I've not been in the same. I'm in the other room because it's like they have the bed. I'm in the other room on the blow up bed, and so I'm listening out just in case I'm actually needed, because you can tell the crying. Is it crying that's going to calm down, or is there something actually wrong? You get used to that. And then I'll come in the morning. Like this morning, I came in and then I took him downstairs and let Kate stay in bed for a bit. And then I made him breakfast and all that. And then by between 9:30 and 10:30, he'll start rubbing his eyes, and then you go, right, it's nap time. So you make a bottle up, and then I'll go upstairs. Kate comes down, and then I'll go and have a nap with him. So sort of, between 9:30 and 10:30, he has a nap then. And then he'll have a nap, I don't know, sort of between 1:30 and 3:30. He'll have an afternoon nap.
That's nice, little afternoon nap.
Starts to happen. It will start to happen with you. What's going to happen?
All I want from the conversations with parents at the moment is for you to tell me it's going to get better.
It's going to get better.
You know that thing where people like are maybe fishing for a compliment, where they'll be like, "Oh, I don't know whether this outfit would it fit," and you just want them to go, "Oh, it looks really lovely. You look great." I want that. I just want people to tell me it's going to get better.
You're going to have nap times, and they're going to be scheduled. I mean, not every. It's going to be the odd day where you're like, it'll be the one where you haven't slept all night because they're teething or they're doing something, and then you're begging, pleading, please, can we have a nap at 9:30? Can we do that? Can we have the 9:30 nap? And it doesn't come, and then but you'll get the afternoon nap hopefully. But it does level out.
There's always a thing, isn't there? Because I'll look it up and it'll be like, oh, there's the 4 week, there's the 6 week crying peak, and then they go, there's something at 4 weeks, something at 6 week crying peak, and then there's the 8 week sleep regression.
Yeah,
and it's like they're all just one after the other. There's a thing that means that they're always regressing.
It's fucking relentless. And then they get to 18 and they fuck off to uni or wherever they go, and they still don't fuck off. They still come back. They take all your money and they take all your time. They're still worrying about them. You're fucked basically now until death because they're your kids. And it's just they get to teenagers and they regress. They get to adults and they regress. It's fucking relentless, Joe. But there are good bits.
Yeah. I remember Bert Williams having a line about one day they're going to grow up and write poetry about you. I think that's what I keep thinking about.
You're going to go through all that. You're going to go through the phase where, when they're adolescent and you're the worst person in the world. You're going to go through all that, and you're going to feel, all that time I spent stood up in my underpants in the middle of the night rocking you to sleep, and you just called me a wanker. How dare you? You're going to get, and the other thing as well in your the classes as well. You're in that. Is it a CT class? Did you say
NCT? Yeah,
NCT. Was it someone? Who said it? Was it Hattie Ashdown? Or I can't remember if it was Kate. I think it was Kate McGann, my lovely wife. Said it's a lot of money for a WhatsApp group.
Yeah,
basically. But you're going
to. We've got lucky where that we're in a very nice group. So it's But yeah, it's like comedy, isn't it? It's impossible to not compare yourself to other people when others are, and you don't think about things that are going well for
No,
you.
no.
You think about the things which are going well for other people and not for you.
And that's
Maybe
it.
that's just
Yeah.
my mindset.
But you're going to get people going, oh, well, our baby slept through right from the beginning. Like, you go, well, it's going to be a serial killer then, isn't it? There's something wrong with it.
Well, we felt like, because so how was it? Because your older kids are, how old are they now?
32 and 27.
So you've sort of like got that. But the thing which we found sometimes difficult is that there'll be people of a certain generation where certain things were done that are now not done. And
Yeah.
they get very upset if you go, well, no, we sleep the baby on the back, or we don't, sleep in like the sort of the things that you don't do now but that you used to do.
Oh,
I
you're
think
going to offend everybody, yeah.
My parents' generation, it's like, were you saying we were bad parents that we didn't care for you? And
yeah.
like, but you've had, you're both sides of that, I guess.
I've had it all. Yes, I've had it from, being a kid in the 70s and the 80s myself, and then having kids in the 90s. From then, I even talk about it in my set, how different it is now, whereas back in the 90s, you were feeding them chicken nuggets and Cocoa Pops, and, if you tried fruit and veg, but if they turned their nose up at it, you didn't carry on. You just went, well, they'll figure it out eventually, which they do. They do get to a point where they go, do you know what, Dad? I really like tomatoes. You go, well, yeah, you should do. You're 22. But you get to, they figure it out. Whereas now it's like Kate. When I've tried, she actually said one day, I hate the way you parent. I think I was trying to give
things
him,
are going well.
Yeah. I think I was trying to give him a bourbon biscuit or something like that. And she's like, no chocolate. He's not having any chocolate. So yeah, you're going to end up offending everybody, all the older generation, the people that brought you up, because you're going to be going, look, we don't do that anymore. We don't smoke into their faces anymore.
Like we were in the hospital and an old lady like goes, oh, is it a boy or a girl? And sticks her head like right into the carrier, and we're like, we're in a fucking hospital. Like, you can't put your face in my baby's face.
Smoking straight to their faces.
She wasn't smoking. This was just in a lift at the hospital. But it's like, you're still presumably an unwell elderly woman, and you're breathing in my newborn baby's face on the way out.
Yeah, it doesn't have an immune system yet.
Yeah. Oh, that's the thing, because I think that lots of people of a certain generation think that, oh, you got to build up their immune system straight away.
Oh, yeah, so give it measles, mumps, chicken pox.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to get all that. And you need to just ride it out, mate. Just do it. It's your kid at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think I'm quite good generally at saying no to people.
Yeah. Like, yeah, can I lick your baby? No, I really don't want you to do that. But it'll help. No, it won't. You're disgusting. It's, yeah. But do you ever, have you had a moment where you're going to go, fuck, what am I doing?
Yeah, I think, like the whole time, I think, I think this is probably grim for a comedy podcast, but I do look at the state of the world, and I think, am I going to have to explain nuclear war to my child when they're 5 years old? I think that concern, but I think that is the good thing of just being so it's all encompassing that I'm not really watching the news anymore. I found out the other week that Kemi Badenoch won the Tory leadership contest. Like a week ago, I found that out.
Yeah, I didn't even know that till you said it.
I'm just out of the loop with everything that's going on. It's great. I always thought that if I was informed and knew what was going on, that I was sort of a better person, but I wasn't doing any good.
No.
It's not like I was changing things. And now that I'm out of the loop, I feel reassured by not knowing what's going on in the world.
Isn't it funny? I've been doing the same thing because it's absolute fucking clown shoes at the minute. None of it makes sense. There's idiots getting voted in that, especially American politics. I mean, I get all that from TikTok, and I was like, I got to stop looking at this because it's just, It just.
Oh
You
yeah,
just
no, just go skip through it. I've
yeah.
trained my TikTok algorithm. My wife said I have the most boring TikTok algorithm
Oh really?
of anyone she knows. Because everyone says it's all like naked ladies, and it was when I first got it. They were like, "You're a man with naked ladies," but all the naked ladies have gone now, and all it is men in their 50s explaining how to properly store vinyl records and like and like rating different albums. That's all that's left for me now, and I love it. I'm in my own little bubble.
It's funny. I never had the naked ladies. That never happened. I don't know. Obviously, I'm not.
I think I don't know
Yeah.
whether it's like the demographic I put in, but like the first week there was some, but it was almost like they'd gone. No, we know what really turns you on. It's a record store owner in Oakham.
I get a lot of videos of things getting crushed.
Oh, I
You
got
know, like,
that. Yeah, that's good.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's that thing, and they put like water canisters, and they put different toys and things, and just squash it. I watch cars getting crushed. Yeah, it's a load of shit like that. Oh, things how you can fix things yourself. Because
Right.
you can fix your own car now, and I'm like, I don't know if I'm ready for that. But I was
It's
doing
slightly
that.
different
Yeah,
because I always think of like I think culture is like power in that, like, comics or writers or musicians or whatever, like there's an element of those people will always be sort of free thinkers and people who sort of believe in, like, not necessarily that like they would be like left wing, but just sort of like believe in like new ideas, or wanting to stand up for people that are being sort of downtrodden. And that's like the power of the arts, is that those people can reach a wider group because you can be the storytellers, even if you don't have the formal power of politics or money or whatever. But then you go, oh, but I will just watch crayons being crushed for half an hour. So it doesn't matter. The power of literature is powerless against some crayons being crushed.
but it's fun, isn't it? I go to people's houses now, and whereas before there'd be like stacks of books and bits and bobs and all that, now there's none of that. And then you sort of go, oh, Ray, maybe having books like that was just to kind of show people, oh, look at me, this is my personality, all these books, this is what I read.
Yeah.
Noam Chomsky, yeah, of course I've read that. So now we don't have that. So I don't know how we show off what we know.
Oh, I still. So you're like a record collector, aren't you?
I've got records, books. Yeah, I got it all.
Yeah, I'm still very much that person. I think, like, to be honest, it probably is just like, just I want people to come around and go, oh, what a complex guy this guy is.
Oh, look at that! Wow, he's got the pub landlord, and he's got Dostoevsky on the same bookshelf. Wow.
I wonder if he's read them both.
Yeah, I do have a stack of books. Do you know what? I did go through them the other day. Kate and I went through them, and we did say, look, have you read this one? Yes. Are you going to read it again? No. Right, well, let's get rid of it. Have you read this one? No. Do you think you will? I don't think so. It's just...
Yeah, I need to say, I will never read Ulysses. I've got a copy of it, and I really like The Dubliners, and I like Portrait of the Artist.
Yeah.
I just need to accept that Ulysses isn't happening.
I think
my wife's got family in Dublin, and they live near the place where the opening scene of Ulysses is set.
Oh wow!
Yeah. So whenever we're booked to go and see them, I always think, oh, I'll read it in the run up to going to visit them, and then I'll go to this sort of fort thing. But then I don't. It's hard work.
But it's that again. These are the like there's the top 50 greatest books of all time. Same as films, and and albums as well. I've said this before on here. I've bought Pet Sounds. It must be getting on for 20 times in various formats. And I just keep going, no, it's not for me. And I'm giving it away. I give it as a gift to someone else.
Yeah, do you know what? I feel the same way about, and I try every year about What's Going On, because that's always really high up on this, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you can't explain it to someone, but I've had this conversation where I go, but it's just, it just doesn't interest me. And I like sort of that sort of thing, but it just, I don't understand why it's so special. But then on the other side, there's albums that I think are masterpieces that never get a look in anywhere else. So
I know.
yeah, it's just
It's-
very personal.
It is very personal, and with the books, you know, I was like, oh, do you know what? I'm gonna. Which is why I love audiobooks, because we spend so much time in the car. We can go, right, I can put something on. So I had the Odyssey on, and I think I was about a quarter of the way through, and I'm like, oh, this is the basis for every single movie that's ever been made, ever. It's like, oh, I need a thing. I need to go and get a thing in order to get back to where I came from. Oh, but I need to go and do this side task first and speak to that person. And it's every single film. And after I cottoned onto that, I was like, well, I don't need to listen to the rest of this.
Because I've watched Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. I've seen Star Wars. I've seen Lord of the Rings. I've seen Jaws. And that was it. And so, yeah, so the Odyssey, I sort of went, oh, yeah, I get it now. Just gave up.
I like that as a review. The Odyssey, basically Star Wars.
Yeah, have you seen Star Wars? Then you know the Odyssey.
It's that, yeah, but Greek people instead.
Yeah, but it's all of those like war and peace people wang on about, and you know, I mean, and like you said, it's you hit it on the head. It's personal, isn't it? Just because someone goes, "This is one of the greatest books ever written," yeah, it's fucking long, isn't it?
Yeah. And I think there is a bit with literature, because have you read much Kurt Vonnegut? I'm a big Kurt Vonnegut fan.
I read Slaughterhouse-Five.
I just think he's an example of that mainstream is more. I just think because his stuff is really accessible and it's got stuff about bumholes in it, that he's never quite seen as like a literary great.
Yeah.
But I think his books are, speak to me. Any sort of criteria for a good book, I think his books have more than any of the sort of like literary greats for me.
I think and I tend to gravitate towards people that they'll cite Kurt Vonnegut, Ray Bradbury, Hunter S. Thompson, all those sorts of people, like William Burroughs and those kind of like cult people with a cult following.
Books that sell HMV. That's the
basically.
That's the
yeah. Fahrenheit 451 was a brilliant book, and Something Wicked This Way Comes. They're really good. I really enjoyed them. 1984, of course. I read that when I was 21, and it just blew my head off. But then I read.
It's one of those books that's unfortunately been appropriated by wankers, isn't it?
Yeah.
That and The Matrix is the film equivalent of it.
Yeah, it is. Wankers ruin everything.
It's like, is this like 1984, or are you just not allowed to write something racist on the internet? Is that what it is?
Yeah, you can't say the N-word. It's so
like 1984.
Yeah.
But I do think I like, if someone has books on their shelf, I like to look. I love that when you go to someone's house and they've got books on their shelves, and I think, well, let's get a little glimpse of their personality, and I love that. I hate when you go around, they've got nothing on their shelf.
There was someone I became really good friends with because they had, they had the art of, I can't remember what it's called. It's a Hunter S. Thompson book, and it was on the shelf, and I'm like, I've never heard of that one before, and we became firm friends just off the back of that one book. That was it.
They're good conversations. The
Curse of Lono. Sorry.
Right.
And they are good conversation starters. I mean, But as we've said, there's some of them. I read Kafka's Metamorphosis, and I just felt really sad.
Yeah. I remember reading that, and it's very sad.
But I bet you'd love to be a dung beetle right now. Now you've got a baby.
You smell like one right now. So, I think for me, music was always there because you're not a football person, are you?
No, not at all.
I think because I've always I fucking hate football. But
I hate football.
I'm jealous of the way it connects people. Men, the way that men can go.
Same.
Oh, you support this team, and immediately there's a thing. And like, I think music was the thing for me, but I think that's harder to just bring up to go, are you a music fan?
Yeah.
But my music taste is very broad, where there's not really anything that I don't like, and that I can't talk about a bit. So like that for me was like, that was my football, where I can talk to anyone about music, because I will probably know a bit about, whatever they're into. It's a useful thing to have that.
I didn't realise we were that similar, Joe. I have been stood quietly in kitchens at parties for years where I haven't been able to join in because everyone's like, "Oh, do you see the game? Oh, I saw blah blah. Oh yeah." Well, and then they'll say to me, "Oh, so."
And I think
so
the difference between you and I is that you are someone who people would assume did see the game, whereas I'm someone where they go, "No, probably not."
I'd love it if you walked in. Did anyone see the game? Yeah, people just assume straight away. They as soon as I say hello, they go, "Oh, what's your team?" I'm like, "Oh, fuck off." I used to go Palace, and then because that's where I'm from. I'm Palace, mate, and they go, "Oh, yeah, okay, yeah." It's a weird sort of respect because they're not a massive team, so it kind of gets you off the hook.
So you're not a poser.
You're not a poser. You're not a glory chaser, as they call it, but then they want to engage you in it, and you're like, "I don't fucking know. I don't know." And then I'm annoyed.
I just found it very hard to care about football.
Yeah.
My dad really wanted me to like football, and I don't care. I just hope everyone has a good time. I don't care who wins. I think that's the thing. I'm really, really not invested in it.
I really want that on the terraces. Look, everybody, I just want everyone to have a really good time. I'm enjoying the songs. I don't know how you all know them, but you all know them. Wonderful. But I'm just going to sit here. But people get really upset
about it. That's the thing I find. Also, I find like the way in which I find it really hard when there are ways in which people behave that I can't empathize with in any way. So there's people who are very different to me and they will do things and I'll go, but I understand why you feel like that because this happened to you and you're angry or whatever. Like, even if I think their behavior is not good. But there's things like the way people get really upset about football. I find it really hard to put myself in that because I just don't care about it. And people get really angry because their team's lost.
Yeah.
And I just sort of think, well, why wouldn't you just not engage with it anymore? Like, or not.
I know what you mean.
They still want to go and support their team and I find that really hard to get my head round, and I find that quite like unsettling that people are angry in a way that I don't understand.
Yeah,
I always found that quite sort of unnerving.
It
can get really nasty.
Yeah. Oh, it's horrible, and it genuinely like people won't talk to another person just based solely on the team they support. Like, just doesn't matter if they've got anything else in common. I was listening to Jar Wobble's book, and he was talking about he's got a real hatred of anything Art Deco, just because, the old Arsenal ground, Highbury, was an Art Deco structure, and he's a Tottenham fan. So now he just has this real aversion to anything Art Deco. He'd gone somewhere and this was Art Deco, and he fucking hated it on the spot. And he had to trace it back and go, "Oh yeah, it's because of the Arsenal."
Wow.
Yeah. This is a very cultured man. This is a open-minded, beautiful, cultured man that was just brought down by anything Art Deco. It's a football.
It makes me sort of think: are we just tribal people that just wanna kill each other? And like, I think to me it feels like, listen, people who are football fans, my dad in particular, would say, "But look at how football can bridge things, and look at how much like." People who like you have very multicultural teams and like what it's done sort of for progressive things, but I find, to me, I see like the worst of humans in that sort of like group thing of like we're the best, we're gonna I don't understand it at all.
No, I don't. And I mean there is that in all human beings, isn't there? Like when we first meet people, there is an instinct, isn't there? Is that right? Is this person? Are we going to fight? Are we going to get along? Are they going to benefit the tribe? Am I going to benefit their tribe? Basically, do I eat it, fight it, or fuck it?
Yes,
that's it. And I think there's a lot of fighting in football, and I don't know. I probably get a lot of shit. That's the other thing as well. You can't discuss it without someone getting angry. If I've been I remember.
Oh, fucking football fans are the most fucking snowflake people, and that like I remember doing some material about like, what was it? Sort of like, it was just sort of poking fun at football fans, and sort of, it was about how I feel the way about football fans that my nan feels about gay people. Like, I know they're allowed to be into it, but I'm not. Like, I just don't want it shoved in my face. You know, I don't want to, like, you know, you can do that separately, but it's not natural. Something along those lines. But people will get so upset by it, you know, in a way that any other group doesn't get upset by things. You know, it's the football fans that get really sort of really protective over it. Yeah.
Well, I did a couple of nights tour support for a big comic, and I only ended up doing a couple, and then they got someone else in to do the rest because there was a big football match tournament on, and the tour manager said, "Oh, you can go up and just sit in the green room with them and watch the football." I didn't really want it, but then I didn't want to turn down the invitation. I kind of went, and I knew the comic already. We'd already gigged before they became famous, so we sort of knew each other. And I'm sitting there and I'm trying to be into the game and I'm making comments, and I could feel them bristling and getting really annoyed because they just knew that I didn't know what I was talking about, and it really fucked them off. So I just made my excuses and I left. I went back down. I went, I'll see you at the gig. I went back down.
If you're not into it, it's so boring as well, isn't it? I think there's things like I'm not really into like those like you know, the Marvel films and stuff like that. But I think I could watch one. You know, like if everyone's like, we're going to go and see, I don't know what they're fucking called, Captain America.
Yeah,
I could go along and watch that and be like, okay, I get like it's a story, and you know, I get what this is, even though it's not really my thing. But football, if you're not into it, it's so fucking boring.
It's so boring. I'm glad we had this chat, Joe. I'm glad we need to have a proper chat off air, and at some point. At some point,
you can tell me who the famous comedian was.
Yeah, I will. he's a lovely dude. I will say this. He's a lovely guy. But when it came to the football, he was just fucking annoyed. But yeah, there we are. But yeah, so we're gonna. So are you going on tour? What's happening with you, Joe?
Yes, I've got a tour this autumn. It's this year now. It's called Daddy Autism. So it's all about having the baby, but it's also about the fact there's a genetic component to autism. So there's like an increased chance that my child will be autistic. And I wanted to there's lots of sort of like complicated. There's a really good book called Selling Out the Spectrum I'm reading, all about sort of autism research and genetic research and stuff like that. And I think that I think it's quite like interesting comedy. I think can come from if you sort of stuff that feels complicated, which you maybe feel a bit uncomfortable talking about. So I wanted to sort of get into that and think about, you know, how I felt about my child being autistic, so I think I'm really pleased with it, and my shows are sort of relaxed performances. There's lots of sort of different ways in which the shows are run. People can get up and down throughout. They can go on their phones if they want. There can be sort of movement in the room. There's no audience interaction, so if people don't want to be spoken to, then it's just it's a monologue. So people sort of know what they're going to get from the show. So yeah, I'm very proud of it, and I would love people to come.
Yeah, that's interesting. And where's it going to be? Where are you taking it? All around?
It's mainly England. I'm going to Dublin as well, but I've got. I had a panic where I submitted some adverts that said I'm going all around the UK, and they were doing sponsored adverts in like the towns that I'm doing. And I sent it off and then realised, oh shit, no, I'm also doing Dublin. That's not the UK.
Oh shit.
I'm going to Dublin, Brighton, Portsmouth, Knaresborough near Leeds, Bristol's a big one, Exeter, Taunton, Newcastle. They're all on my website, which is joewells.org.uk.
Fantastic. Thank you, Joe. This has been a lovely chat.
I was lovely chatting. I really enjoyed it.
What's your number one album of all time? Tricky question. At the minute, I'll give you.
Okay, the two that are consistently in my top 5 are Lord Willin by Clips.
Okay.
I think Pharrell's production on that is beautiful, front to back. Also, an album which a lot of people have heard of called Last of the Country Gentlemen by Josh T. Pearson.
Nice.
And I can't quite explain why it's so beautiful, but it's a sort of folky guitar album. It's got Warren Ellis from Bad Seeds on it.
Oh wow!
And that's one of those things where I'm like, I don't know why this isn't isn't seen as in the top 100 lists. Those are my two.
I'm going to have to check those out. Thank you, Joe. Wonderful business.
It's lovely chatting for you.
And you, mate. Thank you. This has been Insane in the Membrane. I've been Rich Wilson. This has been the brilliant Joe Wells. Thank you to producer Paul as well for chipping in there and being the man that makes this keeps this on the rails. And we'll see you next time.